This episode of Fresh and Buds is brought to you by Briar's Tires, folks. If your tank in metrics needs a new tire, come on down to Briar's Tires. It is the best place to get a tire for a tank in metrics. It's so cool. Thank you, Briar's Tires, for your sponsorship. Here is the show.
Fresh and
All right, welcome back, folks, to yet another episode of Fresh and Buds. I am your host, Tommy Fresh, and you are all of my buds. And today we have a wonderful guest and a bud now that we've met in person over at a couple events. It is Aidan Kwasneski from Three Floating. How you doing, buddy? What's going on?
I'm doing good. I'm enjoying a rainy day in Los Angeles, the city that is not built for rain. So hopefully we won't deal with any flooding today. But I've just been enjoying a nice misty morning, and now I get to talk to you, Tommy. So I'm stoked.
I'm stoked too. We just had snow again right after the rodent, the groundhog. It said that spring was coming early, but it doesn't seem like it is. So, you know, I gotta go talk to that groundhog rodent.
He's a liar.
I think I saw somebody call it a beaver the other day. I thought that was funny to like purposely give it the wrong name, but
Oh, it was intentional. It was
yeah,
intentional.
yeah, they're like
Gotcha.
this stupid beaver, you know, like while they're shoveling snow. But we got a great show for you all. We're gonna learn a little bit about Aidan, and we're gonna talk about these heavy hitters heroes. Now the dust has settled a little bit after the release. Kind of like figure out like, hey, what did some of these heroes need in the future from LSS to kind of make them a little bit more competitive than maybe we had hoped they would be. But it's a lot of fun. RTNs have been great as well. But before we get to it, all the stuff is in the show notes for Fresh and Buds. Check it all out. I'll mention at the end of the show, and all of Aidan's stuff will be there as well. Aidan, my friend, out in Los Angeles, misty morning, rain, beautiful, hopefully no flooding. How's it going? What is going on with you? What's new? Are you enjoying heavy hitters right now?
I am loving heavy hitters. I honestly haven't. I hadn't gotten to go to any armories and locals in a while, just because of traveling and going to like realm events, like with the cruise, and then there was the holidays, which was pretty crazy. And then I had my last fall semester of finals, and now I'm doing my final semester of college. But yeah, when heavy hitters dropped, sort of like it was this great, timing thing of like we started getting into like a true scheduled rhythm with the channel, and this new set released, and my life was all coming together. I showed up to locals and just have been having a blast. Like I completely bombed a draft. I have no clue what to do there, but I just love all these heroes, and I love the arena thematic as like, I mean, I feel like we're all at least somewhat of like fantasy buffs, and so like for me it harkens back to like the sort of stories that I would tell in Dungeons and Dragons, with my like old campaign I used to run in high school. So I love a good arena of intrepid heroes showing up, trying to prove their worth, make a little cash, get on with everything. So
Yeah,
yeah.
the deathmatch or like gladiator kind of thing, just having an arena of some sort, some kind of coliseum, is always like a nice little spice to add to some fantasy, right? You know, it's kind of cool that, whatever, you got the wandering heroes that are on a giant quest, but like, it's also cool to have some gambling and some fun as well, and I guess some like really brutal kills, based on some of the art in the set. Now,
Yeah, watch out for Reinar.
yeah, showing no mercy whatsoever. That is so brutal. I want to talk about Three Floating. We had Sam on. Now we have you on. Hopefully, we get the obviously the third member at some point as well. You guys are becoming or have become a community staple at this point. There's a lot of fab trios, and I think trios are just like a good like mesh of people, right? It's like you always get like three really good personalities together, you get a great mix, and that's what you guys have. Can you kind of tell us the story of Three Floating and its history from your perspective? Because we got it from Sam. Now I want to hear it from you.
Okay. Yeah, sure, of course. Well, I think the obvious first person to talk about is Sam, because he is my family. He's my cousin, and we sort of grew up together playing in grandma's backyard, like me showing up to his high school plays, and him introducing me to Dungeons and Dragons, him going off to college, being my elusive older cousin, and then um, we both sort of ended up landing in LA. Him after school pursuing acting, me in school pursuing screenwriting, and we hadn't hung out in a while, and he sort of just hit me up and was like, "Hey, I'm learning this card game, and I think you'd really like it." And I was like, "You know what? I haven't talked to Sam in forever, so and we've been living in the same city for like a year and a half, so I should go over and say what's up." So I drove over to his house, and we had some drinks, and he started laying out some cards, and showed me the Fabled he pulled, his first Fable, the Eye of Ophidia, was telling me about how long the game has been around, telling me about the mechanics, and he was like, "You know what? Like here, just like here's these 4 cards. Check this out. Play this, and then you get to pay with it with your resources." And I was like, "Okay, yeah. So you like discard cards in order to pay for cards?" He's like, "No, you put them in your pitch zone." And I was like, "Okay, so like the same thing?" He's like, "Yeah. Just play the turn." So I play out a little hand with Katsu, and he's like, "All right, now take all those cards in your pitch stack and put them at the bottom." And I was like, "What? Dude, wait, this game is crazy." He was like, "Yeah, dude. So just think about like the potential of like being able to sequence hands and turns like many hands down the line, many turns down the line, something that I have yet to even be able to tackle." But the sheer like complexity and simplicity of the game was just like it struck me all at once, and I was just having a great night and talking to Sam and catching up, and so I started coming to some locals with him, learning on Dorinthia, and right around the same time, I started to hang out with Jacob, who was just, lifelong childhood best friend of my roommate from college, and he was just over, and we had just grabbed lunch, and I was showing him things that I had in my room, like a potential board games we could play, and like, just like a moth to a flame, he like saw like the 2 deck boxes of a Bolton and a Prism precon that were just sealed that I had and I bought, and I'd yet to play with them yet, and he snatched them up and was like, "Dude, what is this?" So I told him about the game. We went to a game store, told him about Fi. He loves ninjas, so he picked that up, bought, like just straight up bought a box of Welcome to Wraith, just off the rip, and his first pack was Mask of Momentum. I texted Sam, "I'm teaching Jacob this game. You got to come over." He's like, "Who's Jacob? Just come over and meet him. We'll all play." So he brought his decks. We played, drank a little bit more, and then talked about how Worlds was coming up and in San Jose, and basically there was this sudden surge of like, "We got to go to this. We can road trip together." And I was like, You literally just met Sam," and he was like, "Yeah, and we should do a YouTube channel." And that it sort of like all happened all at once, and it was all this talk. But if there's one thing you need to know about Jacob, he is like a catalyst for just things to happen. And I feel like we're all like people who like love creating things and love making things. But Jacob is like, he's a ferocious, like, will just keep following up on things, like, stuff that he gets excited about, man. He just like continues to push for it. So I think it was like 2 months later, we were just driving up in my car up to stay with my family. We were driving to our like first real big Flesh and Blood event, and it happened to be the first Worlds tournament. So it was just so much excitement and just passion for the game, and we really were just like going to locals every week and trying to figure out what sort of stuff we wanted to make. But that first vlog was like our first video, and then the goal was always like, if we were gonna do a YouTube channel, to make gameplay videos, but that we were just like, let's vlog our experience going to the first Worlds ever, because like that we all felt like that was gonna be a really historical piece in this game's history, so we wanted to capture that. And obviously the response there was way bigger than we had expected, and so then we were like, well, we got to start doing the gameplay now, because like we we just pulled all these eyes to this channel. Like, what do we want this to be? So
Yeah.
that's a long-winded response, but
No.
yeah,
No, I mean
that's sort of the story.
it's so cool because just kind of like seizing the moment is pretty huge, and especially with something like new. Like that's the kind of people that like the early adopters that like a game like this or anything really like kind of need in the early stages, and that's why Flesh and Blood has been so successful. A lot of people that kind of just like, you know what, this is awesome, I'm sticking with it. And talking to some friends of mine who played a lot of trading card games, like different ones, like every new one they played, they said, you know what, usually around year 4, like this, like we're in right now, year 4, year 5 of a game, this is when it falls off. And here we are, Heavy Hitters is kind of like the opposite of falling off. So like it's pretty incredible. Now, I gotta say, I think it's so cool that you guys bring an energy to the content creation side of Flesh and Blood that is not as prevalent outside of that, because you guys are so young, full of energy. I mean, not that like me and my age are just like old and slow, but like you guys are just like bringing something different that is almost something that we weren't seeing in Flesh and Blood before, and there are some examples here and there, but just like really young energy and kind of like content style that perhaps like a lot of us older guys maybe didn't grow up on, but like, you need younger people to play this game for it to be successful. And you guys are really doing that really well. So I want to know, had you always been interested in content creation? And if you were, what and who were some of the creators that you drew an inspiration from?
That's actually a really funny question, because I was literally just looking back on my old YouTube channel from when I was like 13 in middle school. I watched a ton of like, like Let's Play video game channels when I was little, and I always had wanted to make a a gaming YouTube channel, so I like built my own PC and like started recording videos of myself. All the videos are not listed out there, so don't even try to find them. But it's literally just me unedited, like tiny little baby voice talking over me playing some video games, and they have like 50 views, and I'm like pretending like I have recurring viewers. I'm like, welcome back. Like I even have like a video on there that's like, the sad thumbnail, and it's like title, I'm going on a vacation, and just like my parents were like taking us down to LA for like the weekend. So anyway, I had always like been around it, but I'd never really like, I guess, imagined that I'd be going at it this consistent and hard. But content creation and video making was like a big part of my childhood. So there was that with games, but my friends, we'd make like YouTube sketches in the backyard, and like have our own like film summer camps, like trying to make little short films. And um so like I've always loved like making movies, and in high school like film class, and making short films, and submitting them to film festivals. So like it kind of in a weird way started at YouTube, and then that didn't really go anywhere. So I started making like short films, and that got me into college, and then now I'm back to making YouTube videos, but for card games. So it's kind of like a synthesis of all these things that I've always enjoyed. Like I've always been a very big video game person. And as far as TCGs go, I know a lot of people like to know like how you got into TCGs, especially with like how did you land it, Flesh and Blood. And for me, I honestly had never really like played a physical TCG
Mm.
before Flesh and Blood. I like Obviously Sam was really big into Magic, so like all my older cousins were into Magic, and they'd play each other, and I'd come and open packs, and I love collecting art and stuff, but like I never like learned the game. Same thing with Pokemon, right? Loved collecting the cards, had not a clue how to play the game, but I'm sure I could, as a kid, could probably explain some crazy like made up rules of how it worked to you. But Hearthstone was like the number one thing that I like played.
Mm-hmm.
I played a lot of Hearthstone in high school with a bunch of friends, and then and had a good circuit of that. And then in college, started playing Legends of Runeterra briefly. So shout out Majin Bay and the other LOR people. But that I would like. I picked it up because it was in beta, and I also knew the world because I played a lot of League of Legends. That was
Mhm.
like big for me. But yeah, then obviously I just told the story, but yeah, Sam sort of just invited me over and showed me this brand new game hot in the scene, and I was like, you know what, like I've been online and hyper digital like a ton for most of my young adult life, and I would love something that like gets me excited to not be on my phone or not be on my computer, so and like get me out of the house. So I was honestly just super enticed by the mission statement of it too, even just the name Flesh and Blood, like,
Yeah.
you know, not a lot of things that um you know, really do pull you out of the house if you're especially if you're a nerdy geek like me.
Yeah, well, it's a unique space in the, I guess, nerd sphere, gaming sphere, like trading card games, especially like Flesh and Blood, which is the mission statement. It's like get out there and play with each other. And when I first played Magic, that was all it was. I mean, there was Magic Online, but like I still wanted to go to F&M and play with my friends and, feel the cardboard, open the cardboard, sleeve up the cardboard, all that stuff. So like and then you kind of fall in love with the social aspect too, which is so I mean, there is, social aspects of online gaming as well. You hop on Discord. I mean, we're recording on Discord right now. I mean, but there's something about just being with someone in person, which is I find it to become rarer and rarer these days. So that's why Flesh and Blood's so refreshing. Now, I also really love to hear like you, Sam, cousins doing content together. You made like backyard YouTube videos years ago. I mean, this is what me and my cousins did. Like, I'm really close with my cousins. I started playing Magic with my cousin Dan. We played that for years. He's a little bit busy. I keep trying to get him into Flesh and Blood. He's dabbling in One Piece, but and then my other cousin Matt, I do a indie game podcast with. So it's just like fun to just be with your cousins and like family and just friends and making content, which is I think a huge point to like why Three Floating is so successful. You could tell you guys are just like having fun with each other and like being silly and just having a good time, and that's pretty important. Now, you mentioned this is your first TCG, so you obviously have some knowledge of like Hearthstone and League and Legends of Runeterra and how there's like metas, and
Yeah.
you're playing a lot of Flesh and Blood at this point. And the game, where do you see the health of the game? I mentioned like we're year 4, year 5, almost year 5 now of Flesh and Blood. Do you see the health here as good as it seems like in the optics, I guess, that we see on Twitter and all that stuff?
Uh, yeah. I mean, like, I, the LA scene and like Flesh and Blood, like our armory has done nothing but grow and grow and grow. Like when I just sort of made our return to trying to come to locals, regularly again. There's like 15 new faces who are like coming every week, and like all our like old Flesh and Blood friends are like you know the names of all these people, and it's like they're dapping each other up, saying what's up. Like these are not just like people showing up and trying the game. This is like a growing mainstay scene. So like I I mean, maybe I'm in a little aquarium of of the scene, but like it feels like it's growing, and um all the all the sets that have been released and the momentum that they're building moving forward, and their new like increase of pro play, like increase of sets and heroes, like this is all I don't know. It feels like this rising momentum, and I feel like uh, a lot of people have talked about that interview with James White, just talking about the company, and like honestly, like after seeing that, I just have I have nothing but faith. Like they're completely running on profit and paying off like their investors, like, you know, they're completely set, and there's so much passionate people in the game. There's more and more people who are popping up making content and trying to make that a larger portion of their livelihood. Like, I feel like this is all like coming together at the same way, and I feel like the only copium that exists is if you are still saying that you think that Flesh and Blood isn't a mainstay in
Mm.
like those top TCGs, like, you know.
Yeah, and it's hard to argue
Sorry.
against. Yeah, no, it's hard to argue against that because we had the Calling Hartford, which I got to attend a couple weeks ago. That was the whole. I mean, the majority of card game players, and that was SCG Con, was Flesh and Blood. There was still Magic and Lorcana players rolling around, but that Flesh and Blood was the overwhelming majority there, right? And that's really cool to see. And then even from like a content side, I mean, we see it with like, YouTube growth and stuff like that. And, you know, obviously I'm on the lower tier of creators, so there's a lot more room for me to grow. But even like I look at some of the larger creators and they're still growing. So that means there's more people getting into the game and finding these larger creators. And it's a nice trickle down effect too. So it's really nice to see. Now, before we like get into the fresh faves and stuff like that, I do want to ask, you do a lot of gameplay and, obviously some sketches and stuff like that for like reveals and stuff and some vlogs here and there. Is there any kind of content you would like to start doing with the Three Floating Crew that you don't already do now?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about like so many things. Honestly, it's like we just want the number one thing is to be consistent gameplay videos, like and putting those out and frequency of them, because I feel like that's something that we're uniquely poised to provide right now. um but other things, we've talked about wanting to get on stream and do some streaming, sort of like fireside hang, play, games online, play games with people in our chat, like just engage with viewers in the community, and get to play with people, in a more global sense, and not just the people that we play with at our locals. So, um, yeah, I think looking at trying to start doing some streaming, like maybe once a month, would be super fun. Just supplement to that, and we can just hang out with more people. Um, I think that's exciting to us because obviously these gameplay videos are like very much like just hours and hours and hours of sort of this, unless if we bring on guests, which we love doing. We love having, like, like when we had Blake on, when we sort of did like a feature match between Michael and Roger, when we were at Baltimore. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of stuff is, we love doing that, especially like just highlighting other people in the community in sort of our show format, and uh, getting to sort of coax out strategies and quips and just fun and between friends and competitors. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a great vibe to bring, and the live streaming is very cool too. Like if it's hard to do it on a consistent basis. I've tried to do it, I still try to do it every once in a while, but like it's just hard. Like we all have lives, right? But I do want to ask, in that content, since it's a lot of gameplay content, there's only so much, I guess, scripting you can do and screenwriting you can do. But you are studying screenwriting. How much of that do you put into the gameplay videos? Like obviously there's certain, you have your intros and stuff like that, which is
Mm.
great. But there's not. I mean, you can't. I mean, unless you like rig each deck, you won't know what's going on. It's a TCG. There's variants.
Yeah.
So is that is there any of that kind of skill that you're bringing from your education that you're bringing into these videos?
Um, not really. I mean, other than like the ad segments that we do, those are like, definitely pulling from like stuff I've learned from improving in a writer's room, and sort of just coming up with stuff on the fly, like, and sometimes actually scripting out a full thing. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this is a lot more. I mean, none of it's really scripted. I mean, we'll practice certain things for the interviews. Like after the game's over, we sort of switch up our setup and scrub through the game and take notes on like what was sort of in our head. We also have like notes that we sort of jot down like in the moment of the game of like, oh, can you write this down because I want to talk about this. Like it's all just like play a game, and we've been lucky enough like where there's only been like one or two times where we've had like such a non-game where we were like, all right, we got to tape that again. Like that was just that like that wasn't enjoyable for either side, but yeah, other than that, it's just sort of like we practice the decks a little bit beforehand, sit down, shuffle it up, and hope that they'll tell a good story. It's honestly, I feel like the the biggest thing that is influencing how we, or what has been helpful for me in this sort of content is my time playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? You come in with a character and you have all your abilities, but like everything comes down to what the dice have to say, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can you can come up with like the most epic thing that you want to do, but like you roll a 1, that's not happening. And how do you make the 1 a fun story, right? So I feel like your deck is doing the same thing, right? You have your game plans and you have like the story that you want to tell, especially when we're talking about like I'm not saying playing the game is like this, but
Mm-hmm.
I think playing the game in the context of content is like that. Where, you know, the decks are going to tell a story. Someone is going to, brick, and someone is going to hit their power combo, and that's going to cause a certain swing. And, how is each player navigating that and playing to their victory? I feel like it feels like a lot like that. Like just the improvisational stuff is super important.
Yeah, and then in post you can edit it to even like boost that up even more, right? Like when maybe somebody does a blood rush bellow, you can make editing choices to make that even feel like it's telling the story even more, which is really cool. Now, speaking of blood rush bellow, I'm really good at segues. It is the fresh faves time, Aidan. I want to know some of your favorite cards in the game, and hopefully you tell me them. The first, I want to know, who is your favorite hero?
It's Dash Adventure Extraordinaire. Gotta be. I'm messing around with a bunch of different people, but like in the tier list of faves, Dash has to be at S tier.
Dash is cool. I mean, the Dash loyal, and I've found that, especially like that OG Dash, like Adventure Extraordinaire Dash
Mhm.
fans, are rarely Dash.io fans. Also, in my in my conversations, it's just a different
There's
feel.
crossover.
Yeah,
I honestly feel like more wizard players and rangers are pulling up on IO. I don't know. Or
yeah.
maybe even some tricky rune blades. I I I think Dash IO is really cool, and I'll definitely like, obviously it's in the same class that I love and enjoy more than anything else. So I'll have to try it out. But until she's gone, like Dash just presents such a great warm blanket feeling of like walking into a tournament of like, okay,
Hmm.
I won't have like a non-game into anyone. Like,
Yeah.
I'm super confident about my sideboard. I've played into like all these classes, and based on what items I can start with, based on just how I can choose to play my deck. Like, am I throwing above rate attacks and not boosting as much? Am I full throttle boosting? Am I doing the pistol package? Am I doing pistol package, but I'm actually just trying to pad my life total up and then have like a sort of partial pistol, and then now I'm on a boost plan with a gun that shoots for 4 twice a turn. Like it's so modular and so, I don't know, tactile, and you can, any tournament that's big enough, I probably gonna be taking Dash. Like I always like start talking about other heroes, and then last minute I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Like it's Dash again for sure.
It's the kind of beautiful thing about the game is like you can kind of just be like, you know what, I'm just playing my favorite hero. I know it, and I'm gonna get some wins somewhere, and that's okay. And you just gotta ride that wave. Now, what's your favorite weapon?
Um. Oh, I think. I don't want to. I don't want to say. I don't want to say the same thing. Honestly, the wrench.
Oh
I love
yeah,
the wrench. The wrench is
Banksy's.
so cool. Like Banksy, I in terms of art on a weapon, I think is one of the most vibrant, outstanding weapons. And it's amazing. Like, what more can you ask for? 1 for 3 with a threatening on hit. Give me a resource. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
Banksy's awesome.
yeah,
That's a great.
but
I know you were trying to say
yeah.
pistol there, but
I know, I know. I was gunning for it because, dude, like it's such a good weapon. Like bankseeing counters onto it. No, yeah, honorable mentions for sure. Plasma pistol and Talishar the Lost Prince.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. The cool thing, I mean, the pistol's cool. I understand why people like playing the pistol, like because it looks like you're like turning levers and stuff like that when you have all the
Yeah,
items out. It
it's
feels
awesome.
really cool and it looks really cool too. And well, I don't like playing against it, but it is neat.
Well, and that's why I think Banksy's the coolest because it's
Mhm.
just like whenever that's being swung, it's like I've been on the receiving end of Banksy, and it's like, well, I don't want to take 3 damage, but I also don't want to give them this, and it also forces your opponent to be like, well, if they're gonna Banksy at the end of the turn, like, am I blocking some of this, or am I waiting for the Banksy? And if you wait for the Banksy, but then they don't swing the Banksy, then what were you doing with your life? Like,
Yeah,
you're holding all those block cards, my friend. So,
yeah,
yeah, I think that weapon's awesome, and pistol doesn't make it to the top because I feel like um as fun as pistol feels when you're like doing that, like, I like being able to do that because of the modular gameplay of Dash. I like being able to have game into other people,
Mhm.
but that's not my favorite way to be playing the hero. So like
Gotcha.
I like the more aggro version.
Yeah, and Banksy's awesome. It's a great answer. What's your favorite equipment?
Um
Techlo Foundry Hard.
I yeah, I'm trying so hard, Tommy, not to just down the line.
You can. I
Dash,
mean, hey, it's
pistol,
okay.
Foundry. No, Foundry Heart is so good. Uh, but I think the most fun I've had with an equipment piece was New Horizons when I was
Oh,
playing Riptide.
oh,
I
okay.
I love it. And Azalea, honestly, when I was doing some Sand Scour Azalea. Yeah, New Horizons, lock in for sure.
Wow.
Cool hood, like you put on your cool ass little hood, and then like all of a sudden you got 2 arsenals, but like you have to work for them too, especially in Riptide.
Oh yeah.
I like finding ways to load things in face up and flip things face up. I think it's super cool, and when you build that card advantage in of just having like I'm working with 6 cards, you're working with 4, like good luck. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, as I am a big Riptide player, and I never do the New Horizon thing, and some people say I'm crazy, and I know that there's a lot of value to be gained, but I just want to block with my headpiece. But
100%.
but it is so hard. But when you can make it work in Riptide, it's awesome. Now, what is your favorite? Any other card, right? Instant, attack action, block cards. Now we have um, any card that you would put in your deck.
Mm, E-Strike.
Oh yes, yes,
Yeah, I love that card. Come on, I gotta pick a good generic for that. Like,
yeah.
you know, it that card is just so cool. But when I sort of realized in my head, like, I mean, I love modular stuff, obviously. Like that's why I like Dash. So that's the most modular card in the game. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe there's some other ones, but yeah, no, E-Strike you can stuff it in any deck. Like and now it works in KO too. It's a
Oh
6. Like
yeah.
yeah, Bravo loves it. Like who doesn't? Riptide loves it. Like who else?
Riptide. I mean, Fi obviously. I can't tell you how many times I've faced
Icelander
down
loved it.
5 and then 7 and then like
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Draw a card +2 or go again. Like that it's just it's so good. And the fact that like the zero pitch in the top basically says like you can pitch any card in your hand is
Mm-hmm.
basically how I like to think of that. It's like a weird like chromatic pitch of like you can pitch red, yellow, or blue. Like,
Yeah.
whatever's gonna be best for you.
It's
Um
it's awesome, and Snapdragon Scalers works with. It's just, I mean, the amount of things that work with Easter egg. I think I am in agreement. It's maybe not my favorite card, but Easter egg is just having any kind of variety that you can do with one card is awesome. It's kind of why I'm starting to love Standing Order too, which is a really sweet card. I can't
Ooh.
wait to see that. See more time in the sun. I'm playing that in Riptide. It's pretty cool. You can,
Oh, dang.
yeah, you can play it from
Oh,
hand,
true.
load it, and then just come in for 6, and then it's really
Dang.
cool. And as a Riptide player, you should take a look at it. Now let's talk
Okay.
about some new heroes. Those are some great answers for the fresh faves, though. That is awesome. Now, Aiden, we're a couple weeks into heavy hitters. RTN season has started. I did qualify with Riptide over the weekend, which is awesome. We're going to Minneapolis, the home of Minneapolis. Is going to be awesome, and I'm very excited. But we have a bunch of new heroes that are seeing some play, and some not as much. And I thought it'd be fun to just kind of talk about each one, real quick here, and kind of say, well, is it performing how you would hope coming out of the new set? And if it isn't, what does it need? So let's talk about one that I haven't even played it in draft or sealed yet, but Betsy. Betsy seems to
Missing
me,
out.
yeah, I know. I mean, it's very cool. I'm more of a warrior brute guy, I guess, but but Betsy has this really cool thing going on where you get rewarded for wagering, and has a great headpiece and all this stuff. Give me your thoughts on Betsy so far, and where do you kind of put her in, like maybe like an A, B, or C kind of grade? I don't think any of them are Fs yet. Maybe they are, but no, we're going to be positive A, B, and C.
Yeah, she's got to be B for Betsy.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, she's like got a ton going on for her. Her hero power is really really good, and just like the fact that you can put it onto any attack that's wagering. So with Anathos, the Tekla Foundry, his list that I got to feature on Fight Night, that just felt so cool and powerful to be able to like send these 10 overpower wagering things. I think Betsy's whole thing is, she's a gambler, so you have to like gamble and bet in order to win, and you kind of like snowball. Yeah, the question is she a gambler or is she more of like an investor? Because it feels like once she gets her first gold, she can mount that gold into 2 gold and tokens, and then those tokens and gold into a bunch of damage and more gold and more tokens. Like the more you give her, the more she gets, right? So, um, I yeah, I'd put her in B, and I think that everyone who's sleeping on Betsy right now is just because Bravo exists, and dominate is just a stronger keyword of the past.
Yeah.
And I think until Bravo's gone, there's not a reason to really think about these other Guardians as much. I mean, Victor is pretty enticing, but like still, just Bravo has the specs, and he's got dominate, and dominate is stronger than overpower. So uh, I think she's really strong, and what's super interesting about her is, for warrior gamers, like all your reaction cards are gonna pay off in a major way. Um, so I think it's she poses interesting questions, and yeah, B tier. Sorry, Betsy.
That's okay. I think B for Betsy is perfect, right? But it's tough, right? You mentioned Bravo. Bravo just having dominate on a stick has always been awesome for Bravo, and Bravo in the right hands is like deadly, right? You're just like, oh man, like
Yeah.
I gotta play. This weekend I lost to Michael Fang on Bravo, and it's just like, well, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna get slammed there. It is what it is, but.
Was he beat down Bravo?
Well, I was on Riptide, so I think he can go into the beatdown, and that's the correct thing to do in the Riptide. I think because Riptide can actually kind of fatigue a Bravo. I've done it. I've seen it happen. It's not that unheard of. So like to kind of just like threaten like crazy on hits and stuff like that with the crush effects is kind of how you have to do it, which he did, and he did it very well. And Betsy having the overpower, but like these really cool on hits with the wager is very enticing. But even going into Victor, has block cards, can get around a lot of the overpower, and also get so much value off of the clashes and stuff like that. So it's like really tough. To me, I think Betsy just needs one more wager payoff, maybe. I think that we're probably maybe not even a wager payoff, or another way to create a wager of some sort. And then maybe we'll start seeing her be a weapon. Yeah, I mean, it feels weird that the Millers. I keep wanting to say there's a chain of restaurants in the Northeast. It might be all over, called Miller's Ale House, but every time it's the Miller's Grindstone.
You just think of the Ale House.
Yeah, I'm like, Miller's Ale House. No, it's like it's kind of weird. The Miller's Grindstone kind of got printed, but it didn't really feel like we got anything crazy for her yet. But she did get the headpiece, which is
her headpiece.
Yeah.
Hey, like that headpiece is insane. You get your block 2, and it's like an engine for wagering the entire game. Like honestly, I think she needs like other ways to get some gold on the table right now. I think that's the hardest thing. I because she does have wager on a stick, if we're talking about things on sticks. Like she has it, and it's called the Good Time Chapeau. It's just the problem is, in order to get that gold, you're either playing against another wagering hero who's wagering gold with you, or it's your 3 money where your mouth is, or your the 4 block that gives you the gold. Test of strength.
Test of strength gives gold. Yeah, like you're kind of shoot into playing cards that aren't the greatest, I guess. You got wage gold, the universal card, and then I guess like starting stake could be, if you just want to take a turn off and just like make a gold, but then you get into a clunky kind of thing going on.
And then also if you're running that extra card that's not an attack, right? Then like the test of strengths become way worse because then they're not hitting as much. So yeah, there's deck building problems there, but yeah, I just want to see her have a weapon of her own, because I think right now, definitely check out Tekla Foundry's list. Check out the fight night that we did with her. Like she is very strong, and generates a bunch of value. I just think Bravo's better. If you want to play that game plan right now, you should play Bravo while he's around. And I would want to have her see a weapon, because right now, by far, I think the strongest thing you can do with her is run Anathos. So once Bravo's gone, Anathos is gone.
Yeah.
Betsy needs something to clobber people with.
yeah, right. And like, I don't know, maybe Titan's Fist. Who knows? But yeah, I think some more gold generation for Betsy. And funny enough, moving on to the next hero, who doesn't have a problem with gold generation, but perhaps might need some more gold payoffs. It's Olympia. And Olympia is I actually think maybe my favorite hero from the set. Just like totally unassuming at first. You're like, what is this, like,
He's the
gladiator
champion.
guy? You're just a gladiator guy who, like, gets some gold. What about it? And then you see Up the Ante, and you're like, okay, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, how can we make this work? So what are your takes on Olympia so far?
Olympia's super powerful. That specialization is totally a reason to play Olympia. I feel like when playing heroes, you need to look for like what is the reason to play them? Like what's like their card? Like for Dash, it's High Octane, it's Spark of Genius, it's Tekla Core, it's Maximum Velocity. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of reasons to play Dash, right? Betsy, I think it's Chapeau, Bet Big, right? Olympia, it's gold. Gold itself is powerful. Like gold is the payoff in a lot of ways. You know, pitching a blue, floating a resource, getting a new card, like being that flexible on it, like with your hands constantly is very powerful. And uh double down, cash in, like yeah, he's got a lot. Where would I place Olympia? I feel like I want to place him higher than Betsy because I feel like what Warrior has going on. When I'm doing ABC here, I'm sort of just thinking of them in a vacuum, maybe with some other matchups in
Yeah.
mind. But I'm no person to say a proper tier list. But I I'd say Olympia's A, right?
Olympia's A. Oh wow. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to like hear that, because I think yes, the power level is there with Olympia, and I don't think he's quite solved. It's he's getting a little bit overshadowed by Kasai right now. I think a lot like Betsy is kind of getting overshadowed by Victor in a lot of ways. But Olympia has the gold is really good, and like we've seen the meme a million times where it's like the bell curve where it's like gold is the payoff or whatever.
Yeah.
Gold was always the payoff,
Yeah.
But I think in like cash in is like super good, and like to see that kind of really happen is awesome. But also if you're doing cash in, do you want to go like aggro or are you just trying to get some extra cards there? But
yeah, yeah. I want to put him because I'm looking at the other heroes that are on here. I want to put him like somewhere between A and B. So can we give him like a B plus?
B plus
Cool.
for Olympia.
Cool.
Nobody's getting a C though, unless maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, Olympia's cool. I think another gold payoff will kind of push him along. I think.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like a Majestic that is a 3 of copy, right? Like that's huge, right? Because you already have all those other cards. You have all the Warrior cards that are really good, and Warrior just got a bunch of great new cards. I think just also there's more time to brew with him. I feel like the card that I have seen in this set that seems the craziest to me, but is the most untapped is Runner.
Oh yeah.
I want to see a Warrior deck that really commits to agility as being the main game plan, and like actually fitting in some more attack actions in there. Like we talked about E-Strike, like Runner, E-Strike, CNC, like put in good attack actions. I'm curious. I'm interested, and also I think, let me look at it, but up the ante.
Up the ante. It does create an agility, gold, and vigor.
It is a Warrior's target attack.
Yeah, it's target attack.
So,
it's anything.
Anything, you guys. So come on, someone. Runner. We need Runner Olympics. We need an Olympics Olympia deck.
Oh,
where he's like.
So runner, you got like agile windups in there and stuff like that, because they're throwing the javelin, right?
Yes,
and
sure.
And you get that's actually
out muscle.
Aidan, you might be onto something here. That might have been like the clues that LSS was giving us about how to build Olympia.
Olympics Olympia.
You got runner, you got a javelin.
Totally. Yeah, he's doing the javelin toss. He's doing the 500-meter sprint. Yeah.
If only he could play ball breaker, because that kind of looks like a shot put of some sort.
Totally. Yeah.
But
Totally.
that's awesome. But yeah, Olympia. I like B plus for Olympia just because I love Olympia, and it's
He's
something.
awesome.
Yeah. Now that I'm qualified for Nats on, and like I don't really have to focus on CC. I still love Riptide, and I'll still be focusing on him. I think it might be like time to go into the lab with Olympia, which would be a lot of fun. Now, KO. Let's talk about KO.
A.
KO's good. A.
K. Yeah. He's
KO.
up there.
Yeah.
KO. A plus even. Like, we're talking about like you preface this with like, how are these heroes sitting? Like are they good? KO's great.
Yeah.
KO's showing up in force, like plays a really strong value game, plays a very strong aggro game. Just can do crazy numbers, and I feel like he's still even untapped because like we've seen Yuki's amazing list that like is just consistent, constant tempo that obviously can put up results.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's also still a world of a KO deck out there that is on all the pulpings, that is on just like full like, you know what? I actually don't want to block, and my deck is just going to produce constant numbers until you're dead or I die.
Yeah.
Or run out of cards.
I mean, KO definitely doesn't need anything. I think we could all agree that. I mean, Cast Bones is, in a lot of ways, in KO, is a 0 for 6 would go again, right? Which is, that still blocks 3, mind you, It's like still pretty crazy. KO is really, really doing it. I understand. I think initially folks were a little bit like, well, why only one arm? Why only one arm? And now that we've played against KO, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Only one arm. Jeez.
Dude, if his turns were claw, and then everything else he does,
Yeah.
like, yikes.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. Yeah, KO. I mean, we could leave KO at an A. I mean, A plus. I mean, that is just KO is really doing it. Now the next hero, Kasai, though, is making a little bit of a splash in the world. Kasai is got the really interesting ability to play Nourishing Emptiness like really efficiently, because you can just get rid of the other Nourishing Emptiness, or even the CNCs you played, and just, hey, here you go, as well as just doing cool stuff of swinging swords for free. What are your takes on Kasai? Yeah, and Blood on Her Hands. Yeah.
Crazy card. I mean, so I've heard that actually maybe there's a world where we're not supposed to be on Blood on Our Hands, which I think's crazy, because with 40 life you can build up so much copper, and Blood on Our Hands can just become 15 to 20 damage just so quickly, just like, and on one card sometimes too, if you can find the draw. So so I said if KO's A plus, I'm adding pluses and minuses into your list. I'm sorry,
it's all made up.
Yeah. KO's A plus. We got Betsy at B, Olympia at B plus. I put Kasai at A.
Okay, solid A.
Kasai's A. She's also the hero that I'm most excited about in all these new heroes. I find that her ability to do Blood on Her Hands or Raise an Army, it kind of scratches a similar modular feel to me, that I get with Dash, of like, when you're sitting down for a match, your deck is built one way, but you can play it 2 ways, right? So, in terms of things that she needs, I think just a couple more like 1 for 4, 0 for 4 rate cards,
Yeah. It's probably you can almost say like just good yellows, right? Just to like add more good yellows into the deck that can go towards the ability. But yeah, she's in a good spot. Some rough matchups, but I think that Raise an Army is an untapped card in terms of its potential in those bad matchups. So we'll see, because I think those Cell Swords can be very good. Now, Victor is another hero that's I'm making a splash. I don't know if his matchup spread's good enough, but I've played against Victor, and like seeing the clashes win and them drawing a card plus getting a bunch of value is pretty insane.
Yeah.
What are your takes on Victor? I don't want Victor to get anything else.
I feel like Victor's more matchup dependent. I honestly don't know him as much, but in terms of power level on a hero ability, like his is the only hero that has just direct value like printed onto his hero. So I mean, just really just other things, kind of the same thing that Betsy wants, which is just other ways to make gold. Right? Every time he's doing that, he's just going way above, right? And so, yeah, I honestly, but yeah, that's the thing. If we're already printing gold stuff for Betsy, then he doesn't need anything because he's gonna gobble that up as well. So like,
That's true.
you know, I honestly think Victor's super well poised. I think he just needs more time in the lab. You know,
Yeah.
he's got a lot of very specific numbers and deck building crunching to sort of figure out.
I think so too, and I think what I see with Victor, the not biggest problem, and it's probably good that you have some bad match. You got to have some bad matchups. You can't just be the best deck, right? But like Victor, if you're not attacking into him, you're not clashing. All of a sudden, that makes the value disappear. So Victor against like Kano is like an issue and stuff like that. Or if you're gonna lose the clashes, like KO's really good at winning those clashes and then the last hero we're going to talk about here, Reinar, can make you not have clashes in your hand. So there's always ways around it. Now, do you want to give Victor's A minus? This is the last one we didn't. Or you just want to give him solid A?
Yeah. I mean, I could put him at A as well. But if we're in the spirit of plus and minuses, and so that we can have a clear, first, second, third, he'd be A minus. So we got KO A plus, Kasai, then Victor, then Olympia, then Betsy, which leaves us. Where do we put Reinar?
Well, Reinar's weird, right? Because Reiner's been there. He's been around.
Yes, exactly.
He's been around the block. He got some cool buffs. Not as many as I had, or as people had hoped for. But I think that we might be visiting the Savage Lands at some point down the road. So like, I would hold off on it. He was always kind of good anyway. It's like he would just win. He like won calling San Jose, right?
He's super strong, and I think the reason why people don't know where to put Reinar is everyone's playing KO.
Yeah.
I think just for Reinar, just give it time. Beat Chest is super powerful, and people just aren't implementing that in their decks right now because they just want to run as many sixes as possible. In order to do that, you play KO. So, yeah, but Beat Chest and Reinar's like just already super capable and viable like list that has put up wins at major tournaments. I honestly think the number one thing that you can't count out is agility. Agility is an insanely powerful token, and I think that the main thing that was gatekeeping brutes previously was having to roll scabs.
Yeah.
And now with agility, you can make it so that you can play a brute game where you really only have to roll scabs maybe once, right? Once
if at
twice.
all. Yeah.
If at all.
Yeah.
So I think just agility centric brute lists are gonna be super powerful, and I think like the wind up cards for Reinar, if yes, like KO turns it into a might for a +1, but if Reinar takes his turn and he sends an attack, he can discard a wind up, intimidate a card from his opponent's hand, which is 3 who knows how much value that can be especially with Intimidate being able to mess up your opponent's blocks of like, oh, I really wanted to block with these cards, and now I'm just gonna be screwed with these red cards that don't pitch for anything. So yeah, like you can intimidate a card like on your turn, getting a discard. You can trick stuff with that with your claws. Like, here's a naked claw. Oh no, actually it has go again, and I intimidated a card from your hand. And now I've like discarded a card. And I have an agility for next turn.
Yeah.
So next turn I'm set with go again. So like, I don't know. Look at those wind up cards. One of our locals, Blake Meyer, is super high on them, and I think as people look at more agility centric stuff for Ragnar, and just honestly, as people just look at Ragnar, right?
Yeah.
Like Ragnar's just like off in the corner right now, like
Yeah.
looking at his little brother running around, like, yeah.
Well, he's just going to be one of those heroes that's going to spike events because he's going to be a really good Ragnar player who saw the potential. The windups are like combat tricks, right? Even if you're sending Romping Club and they block for 4, oh, here's another one, or even Ball Breaker too, as well as the claw thing you mentioned. So Reiner's in Ragnar tier, and Reiner will always be in Ragnar tier, and that's just unfortunately I don't want KO to like LL because then we don't have claws anymore. But we'll see. Ragnar, if we get rid of the Romping Club, I'm sure we can just use Bone Breaker or Bone Basher. Bone Basher from the classic battles. But that's the heroes. Aiden, I appreciate your input there. We got a couple quick listener questions if you got time for them. They all come from the Buds Discord, which is the best place to hang out in all of the world ever. Are you ready for them?
Yeah, let's do it.
First comes from Capolo, who says, says Aiden is awesome, obviously. Then
Capolo's
says,
awesome.
Capolo is awesome, but don't tell him that because his head gets a little bit too big when he gets those compliments. We gotta, keep him.
Sorry, he's awesome.
Yeah,
he's gonna live with a big head, I guess.
If Mechanologist was not a class in Flesh and Blood, which class or hero would be your main?
Riptide.
Yeah. That's what I like to hear. Great answer. Darth Prentice, aka Greg, asked why Dash, which you kind of went into, but also in conjunction to that, when did you decide to work in film/media?
Yeah. So high school. Yeah, when I was doing short film stuff, writing scripts, and then went to school and got educated and hoping I've gotten better since high school. I think I have, and so just kind of childhood dream for that. But why Dash? She's awesome, and I honestly just I love that sort of flavor. And if we want to talk about why I just picked up Dash at all, is for whatever reason when Sam was running me down through like all the heroes when he was first like introducing me to Flesh and Blood, he literally listed every hero, and for whatever reason, whether it was intentionally left out or just like he forgot she existed, he did not mention Dash. So when I went in to go do my own research, I was like, who the heck is this? Like she's got like technology like in this high fantasy setting. This is really cool. And then I found the Tekla Foundry on YouTube, and he had a bunch of Dash content and talking about hybrid Dash, and like I was like, why Dash? Maximum velocity, good card.
Yeah.
Boost, do 10, Oonga Boonga, like, let's go.
Seems good to me. I don't know. The Orc Knight, a.k.a. Jesse Harper, who, we've worked on a lot of Riptide stuff together, asks, as a fellow Riptide enjoyer, what do you hope to see for the hero? I'm interested to see what your answer is here.
I want an anchor. I want
Yes.
like a ship's anchor that he can like clobber people.
I think it would be sweet. I think that'd be awesome. You're right. We should have an anchor of some sorts. Now, when I had Brian Gottlieb on the show, I asked him, I was like, he's holding like a hook. Like, what is that? He's like, oh, it's supposed to represent the traps. And I'm like, I don't believe you. You're wrong.
Yeah.
But
No. I want Riptide to be the Scorpion. I want get over here and
yeah,
like, yeah, I want that vibe. That's awesome.
yeah, some kind of way to
Um,
force them into the trap. I mean, that's kind of what intoxicating shot does pretty well, but
yeah,
like another way could be kind of neat.
totally. I yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd want that. I would want a weapon he can swing. Even if it's something like, you know, I know Jesse loves Kalashar, so
Yeah,
like even if it's something that swings for big and then it breaks, like
yeah.
I'm down for that too. Or it sinks. Like maybe like when you swing it, right? Since it's an anchor, it's super heavy, it does a bunch of damage, and then it goes to the bottom of your deck. And then you have to draw it up, and then you like, hoist the anchor out again, and then you can hit him with it again, like that'd be cool.
That would be cool. That would be awesome. I mean, like, I guess you could. Oh man, now I'm getting into like what would be the design? Maybe you attack with it, then it instead of like throwing it into your deck, it just gets 3 counters or whatever, and then each
Uh,
turn it ticks down, or at the end of your turn, remove a counter, and then you can't attack with it until there's no counters on it.
oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
it'd be kind of like a
Oh,
unique way
totally.
to.
It like sinks down, and then you hoist it back
Yeah.
up. You
Oh,
reel it in.
yes.
Have you messed around with that card yet? By the way.
Yes.
Okay.
It's there. It's not where I'm at right now, but
Okay.
the potential is there. I think it's really going to take a certain kind of meta where that is even going to be a playable card. It's a one of. I think you could still probably play one of, and it's kind of cool. Like you just got to get it to the end of the game, right, where you can kind of throw it out there, and then hopefully just make a big win with some pitfall traps or something like that.
I think I even yeah.
You have the
I,
reel in right now. Yeah, it's a great card. I
oh, it's so cool.
I was testing it until this weekend, and I was like, you know what? I'm not totally confident in it. I'm gonna just stick with the intoxicating shots.
The blue.
It is a blue. It is a blue. So, and I think intoxicating shot is nuts. But it's been an all-star. But Jesse also asked official 3 floating testing team tryouts when.
Oh, whoa. Um, I don't know. We want to build a Discord. So, you know, once there's a Discord, I'd love to get more games and more practice. I like feeling competent at the game. That's a good feeling, especially when we're highlighting gameplay stuff, and it always just sucks when I lose a game over something silly like not keeping track of my might tokens. So yeah,
Well, yeah.
testing team should happen sooner than later.
That
And
would be.
and Jesse, you got a spot there for sure.
Oh, he'll be in there. He'll be in
Yeah.
there. And then last question comes from William Knuckles of the Table Pit, who asked, of course, 3 floating UPF when, and also says, "Love your work, big fan."
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, well, I would love to get a UPF game on. Honestly, the most fun that I've had with UPF was the Professor set, and just the way it felt. We had really talked about like trying to get that on the channel, but the way things shook out, we just timing wise weren't able to put it together. Um, yeah, I mean, I think when Jacob is back, we would want to have all 3 of us playing for that video. And right now he's off filming, so that puts a certain delay on it. And yeah, just like when there's maybe like a new product or specific support for UPF, something that we could highlight that's new and exciting and something that we could sort of bring in some new players with. But yeah, definitely have talked about it a lot. I think it's a harder thing to cover, especially in the way that we film our games. So maybe we could do something that's a little more focused on the vibes at the table and less of like the post game interview, like trying to get into the crunchier stuff of the game and you know the more complexities. But yeah, I would love to do like a all vibes UPF like the three of us at the table, find an appropriate special guest, and jam it out.
Yeah, that would be sweet. And, until then, William, the Table Pit on YouTube, does do some awesome UPF content for
Yes.
anybody out there looking to watch some. But hopefully the Three Floating do some soon as well. Aidan, this was a lot of fun, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for giving us your time. You're a bright young star in this game. We all really love what you're all doing over at the channel and then individually as well. And, you make it a better place. So that is Big Bud Energy, and that's what we're all about here at Fresh and Buds. So please plug everything you'd like to plug, and thank you, my friend.
Thanks so much. I mean, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, Tommy. Thanks so much for reaching out. I'm so glad that we got this in on this lovely rainy morning here in LA. So yeah, I mean, just subscribe to Fresh and Buds, and go check out the Table Pit. They make amazing UPF content. So if you are looking for UPF, you can find it there. Go check out the Techlo Foundry. He makes great videos. All the stuff that I've learned on Dash, I learned from those videos. That was my launching point. Yeah, and go check out the Runaways podcast. Go check out Arsenal Pass. Like I don't know, just go watch the amazing people who are making content and doing it in this world. I'd be remiss if I didn't say go subscribe to Three Floating.
Yeah, watch Three Floating too. Yeah, everybody,
Yeah,
please.
you should. No, but seriously, like, yeah, go watch content creators. Go watch Sloop Dupe. He's like he's our own bona fide professor. Like, yeah, I don't know. Just enjoy the content on YouTube, and give people thumbs up, subscribe, and comment something nice, because it really does make content creators' day, especially when they put hours and hours into their content. So we see you all in the comments, and that warms our hearts. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. That was really cool. If you just like a shout out machine over there, and you're the best. You can continue to find me on Twitter at freshbudspod, Fresh and Buds, YouTube. Give the old like, comment, subscribe. Patreon's back up. What else? Buds Discord, awesome place to hang out. Got a lot of new buds in there. Looking for some Riptide juice, which I try to give to them. I'm not. I space out and play traps.
Sounds like a
yeah.
Riptide juice sounds like a gnarly energy drink.
Yeah,
Riptide juice.
We should get some some mock-ups for some new energy drinks. But and then check out Fresh. Speaking of juice, check out Fresh Juice, my indie game podcast I do with my cousin Matty Juice over there. And finally, I always like to end the show talking a little bit about food. Just because I love it. Is there any food you want to just shout out, Aidan? Any like restaurant or dish you've been enjoying?
Open Market in Koreatown has some of it has the best like French dip I've had in my entire life. It's like a little wine bar, like sandwich shop, and they got coffee and cool teas and just a awesome vibe. What's kind of hilarious about it is it's sandwiched, no pun intended, right next to the like LA ticketing office. So on the like in the store to the right, a bunch of miserable people like cursing under their breath, like $70 for parking my car in this spot for 5 minutes, and then there's me sitting nice table with my girlfriend or just by myself enjoying a beautiful French dip with like these slowly cooked green onions that are laid across. The au jus amazing, cheese is gorgeous, the brisket cooked overnight. Like we're so happy. Oh, and fresh made baguette too. It's all sandwiched on that. So like crunch is impeccable, and like yeah, if you're in K-Town, go to Open Market, find some street parking, go over there, make sure you don't get a ticket so you don't have to go to the office next door after you enjoy your sandwich. But yeah.
I'm booking my flight right now. That sounds amazing.
LA?
Jeez, yeah, I'll see you there. My lord. Well, that sounds awesome. I'm starving. Thank you so much, Aidan. Please check out all of the Three Floating stuff, people. Have a great weekend. We don't have time for Charmer yet again, but we'll probably get to him at some point. But thank you all, and stay fresh.